And Paul says this. Here's what I want you to pray for. I want you to pray for us that God would open for us a door of utterance to speak the mysteries of Christ, for which also I'm in these bonds, that I might make it manifest as I ought to speak. We need to teach them to pray the open prayer. Listen, here's the open prayer. Lord, open the door. Then Lord, open my heart. And then Lord, for God's sakes, open my mouth. You know, this text really became real to me. Listening to Bishop Staccato Powell one time share this testimony, and it really moved me. He told the story about getting ready to go to Atlanta and do a revival. And he said when they got on the plane in Raleigh-Durham, he said that they were going to be delayed. They had some kind of medical emergency. They were going to be delayed. And so he says, all of a sudden, the announcer came on and said, well, the person they were waiting on was coming to the airport. He looked in the plane, said the plane was full. There were 2 seats on that aisle next to him, 2 seats on the row with him, and 1 seat on the aisle across from him. And he said he was sitting there and saw a lady coming on with a boy. He said, well, maybe he saw the boy look like he had Down syndrome or something that was with her. And she said the lady came in and her seat, she took the seat near the window and the boy took the seat in the middle beside him. And he said he'd not been there but maybe 3 minutes before the little boy touched him in the side. So he hunched him with his elbow and he said, did you wash your face this morning? And the little boy said, he said to the little boy, yes, I washed my face. I took a bath this morning. And so the boy said, good, because everybody need to wash their face. Then he said, the little boy hunched him again. He said, yes. He said, did you wash behind your ears? And he said to the little boy, yes, I took a bath this morning. I washed behind. The little boy said, good, because everybody need to wash behind their ears. He said, the announcer came on and said the person that was waiting on had just come in the airport and was coming through security. And he said, the little boy hunched him again and asked, but did you brush your teeth? Bishop said, I said to him, yes, I brushed my teeth. I got ready. You know, the little boy said, because everybody need to brush their teeth. By this time, the announcer said it'd probably be maybe 5 minutes before the plane would be taken off, because the man who came through security, he was all on his way to get on the plane. And he said the little boy hunched him again. He said he was hoping that the boy's mother was going to rescue him, you know, and tell her to leave that nice man alone. But she never did. And finally, the little boy asked him the third question. He said, do you have Jesus in your heart? And he said, he sort of took him by surprise, but he said, oh, yes, I have Jesus in my heart. I'm a preacher. As a matter of fact, I'm going to Atlanta to do a revival. I've been a preacher a long time. And all of a sudden, the little boy said, good, because everybody needs Jesus in their heart. He said, by this time, the man started walking on the plane. He said, you could tell he was well-to-do. The man had a briefcase, and he just looked like a well-to-do man. And he came and took the seat right across the aisle from him. And he said the man got ready to put his briefcase up over in the rack. And the little boy hunched him and said, ask him, did he wash his face this morning? And Bishop Powell said, listen, let him sit down. He just rushed on the plane. Let him sit down. As soon as the man sit in the seat, he felt that elbow again. Said, ask him, did he wash his face this morning? And Bishop Powell said, he looked at the man and said, listen, I'm not trying to disturb you, but this young man wants to know if you wash your face this morning. He said, the man said, do I look all right? He said, oh, yes, fine. And he said, the man leaned out and said, oh, yeah, I washed my face. The little boy said, good, because everybody need to wash their face. He said, but this time the plane started pushing back. Plane started pushing back, and he felt the elbow again. And now he's just perturbed with this little boy. But the little boy said, ask him, did he wash behind his ears? He said, sir, now he wants to know if you wash behind your ears. And the man said, yeah, I took a bath this morning. The little boy said, good, because everybody needs to wash behind their ears. He said, when the plane was taxiing out, he could tell the little boy's excitement was building, you know. But the little boy hunched up and said, ask him, did he brush his teeth? And Bishop Powell said he told him, yeah. Asked the man, and the man looked around, leaned out and said, oh, yeah, I brushed my teeth this morning. He looked at him and said, do I look all right? He said, oh, yeah, that's just something he does. He said, when that plane took off, he said you could see the excitement and the thrill that hit that little boy, how excited he was that the plane was taking off. And But he said as soon as that plane leveled out, he felt that perpetual elbow again. He said, and he knew what the next question was. Little boy said, ask him, does he have Jesus in his heart? And Bishop Powell said, I told the man, said, listen, son, you can't go around asking people that. You can't go around asking me, because that's not politically correct. And people will get offended sometimes. And people listen, people just won't understand you. He said, ask him if he got Jesus in his heart. And he said, I figured out quickly I was not going to win that argument. I said, sir, I'm not trying to offend you, but now he wants to know if you have Jesus in your heart. He says the man's countenance changed. All of a sudden, he said, the man said to him, he said, no, I don't have Jesus in my heart. He says, my mother is on life support in Atlanta, and they told me if I wanted to see her again, I needed to be on this plane. And me and my wife are going through a rough divorce, and no, I don't have Jesus in my life, and I don't know what I'm going to do. And he said, I had a chance to witness to that man. He said, and then I reached across the aisle and laid my hand on his arm, and I asked him, do you mind if I pray a one-sentence prayer with you? And the man says, I need something. And he said, I started praying for the man, and I asked the Lord to be with him. And I told him that God would come in his life and cause him to be able to deal with all the situations he was going through. And then he said, I gave him my card, and I said, now listen, I'm going to be in Atlanta 3 days. And while I'm there, if you need me, just give me a call. You know, I'll find the hospital. I'll come where, just give me a call. And he says that when I walked off that plane, man, I feel good about myself. Grabbed down my little grip, my little bag, my garment bag, and I'm walking off the plane. I'm coming out of there. I felt so good that I gave a witness to that man and lifted his spirit and was helping him through a hard time. Then he says, but then it dawned on me that it took a little boy with Down syndrome to remind me, a preacher, how important it was for people to have Jesus in their heart. And maybe this whole thing has been set up, this Super Saturday has been set up just to remind you how important it is for people to have Jesus in their heart. Maybe you need to pray, Lord, open a door. Lord, open their heart. And then for God's sake, Lord, open my mouth. Let me say what needs to be said. I have family members that are lost. I have brothers and sisters that are lost. And Lord, I have walked by them and ignored. Lord, open the door. Lord, open their heart. And then, Lord, for God's sake, open my mouth.